Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and today we'll be doing just that. We're going to be continuing with my Q series, the Blu-ray recommendations that I have for the month of June. Obviously, we are halfway through it, so it's not completely done, but I will say I have also been watching some films for this Director's Challenge that I started. If you're unfamiliar, I started in the last video, I started a new challenge where I'm going to be watching 10 films from a filmmaker that I haven't seen before. And I chose Sidney Lumet, and I realized that I had only seen 3 of his films, Network, 12 Angry Men, and Dog Day Afternoon, and I realized that I had only seen those ones, and so I wanted to watch more of those, his filmography. I also just read his Making Movies book, which is a really fantastic book. I would definitely recommend that one. But yeah, so I've been doing that, watching the Director's Challenge, that I've been in the middle of that and the thicket of it, but I've also been watching a few TV shows on streaming and also some movies that I have on disc. And so I wanted to share that with you today. Let's just jump right into the things that I've been watching for the month of June. All right, so for the month of June, I have been on Disney Plus a lot actually lately because I've been watching The Bad Batch, which just recently started. It's a Clone Wars spin-off show. Been kind of actually going back and forth between Clone Wars and that. I know it's about time that I watched that, but I really like Star Wars, and so I finally got the nerve to finally watch it all. And so I'm finally watching the Clone Wars and going back and forth between the shows. You don't really have to know terribly too much between the two, but it's been a lot of fun, and I'm finally on board. The other thing I've been watching on Disney Plus is Loki, which just recently started last week. Episode 2 just came out. I watched it this morning. Good stuff. I like it, and I like the Marvel stuff. So I've been watching that, and I also have been watching this this teen drama on Netflix called Big Shot, which is it's got John Stamos in it, who is a former college NCAA coach who got fired for throwing a chair at a ref, and he had got pretty much demoted to a private high school, all-girls school as a basketball coach. And so it's pretty much all those girls in high school dealing with that new coach and relationships and all that stuff, and just kind of going through that with John Stamos, who's also learning a lot too, because he's learning humility and learning how to be a father himself, because he's also got a daughter who eventually joins him in California. But it's a good show. I really like it, and I would definitely recommend it. So Big Shot. Check that out. Check out Loki and also The Bad Batch and Clone Wars if you haven't seen any of those shows and if you're interested in those things, right? But yeah, I've been watching those. I've been interlacing that with serious films, right? So some of the films that I've been watching, let's just jump straight to that and some of the movies that I picked up recently. All right, so the first film that I picked up, I actually just picked this up not that long ago. I've actually already mentioned it on the channel, not that that I got in a recent Blu-ray haul, but it's a film directed by Thomas Vinterberg, a Danish director, and starring Mads Mikkelsen, which they've collaborated before. I've seen The Hunt with them, but this is another round, and I want to say thank you to Steph for throwing this more onto my radar from Movie Chatter. You know, it's such a fantastic film here. And I was finally able to watch it. It's 4 friends who are all high school teachers, and they don't really have terribly too much joy or passion in the things that they do, and so they decide to do this experiment that they find, this academic experiment of drinking a little bit of alcohol and seeing the effects on like what it does psychologically, right? And you know, at first it starts to kind of work where like they get their energy back, but it starts interfering with their jobs, their lives at home with their families and stuff. And so it's definitely a lot more serious, and also it's comedic as well. So it's got a lot of different elements here that I really like about this film. It feels very human, and also just it really shows that like once you get to a certain point in your age in your life, and like you're kind of just going through you know, the daily motions of things, you kind of just get lost in that, and really don't have terribly as much passion for things that you used to once find joy in. And so it's very interesting to like think about that notion, particularly with this film, and saying like, well, does alcohol solve those issues? It also talks about, I guess, a Danish cultural issue that they have with drinking, which as an American I can't really say much about, because you know, in America we have our own drinking issues. And, you know, obviously drinking can be social, which is how I drink, but it also can get out of hand, right? So yeah, it talks a little bit about that too, and it kind of highlights that aspect of the culture, which is really interesting. And I can't say anything more about that because obviously, you know, I'm not Danish. So anyway, another round. Have any of you seen it? I'm actually very curious to know if you've seen this movie. I definitely would recommend it. It's really, really good. It came out last year, and Mads Mikkelsen is just beautiful. I love the last shot, by the way. That last shot is so worth it. So the next film that I watched is actually a Criterion film from 2015, so it came out a few years ago. And I also want to say that I picked it up a few years ago, but I just randomly picked it off my shelf because I was just kind of in a mood to pick something random. But I'm talking about Spy Number 861, 45 Years, which is about the 45th anniversary of this couple's marriage. And the couple, Charlotte Rampling and Tom Courtenay, who play Kate and Jeff, it's English. Anyway, they are approaching their 45th anniversary, and they're definitely kind of, once again, kind of going through the motions, as I was just talking about with another round, of their, day-to-day routine. They love each other, obviously. Very happy to be around each other, but, there's a spark that's kind of gone a little bit there. But then they realize, kind of near the beginning of the film, you see Tom's character, Jeff, who gets news that his former lover / ex-girlfriend, who perished when they were on a trip together, her body was found, and so it kind of just shatters him and his current state, and it really kind of affects the marriage he's got right now with Charlotte Rampling's character Kate, and it really kind of just goes back and forth with that. And thinking about what this 45th anniversary is, what does it really mean? And so it's a beautiful film. It's very sad, but at the same time hopeful as well. And also just kind of shows you how people deal with grief and things that they have held on to for so long. And it's a really wonderful one. And I would definitely recommend 45 Years if you're in the mood for it, right? And so if you don't have this, I believe it's probably on the Criterion channel. But I definitely would recommend it. 45 Years is a great film. Next is a film that I actually also recently talked about. It came out last year. I was sorely able to miss a lot of these movies in the theater, but I'm very happy that I was able to watch it now. This is a film actually that is set in Arkansas, which is a state below me. I'm in Missouri. Not that far from Arkansas, actually. But it is a Korean film, South Korean film, a South Korean family that moved to Arkansas in the 80s. It's called Manari. And I was able to watch this, directed by Lee Isaac Chung. And it is an A24 film, and it's got Stephen Yeun in it, from Walking Dead. That's pretty much where I know him. But it's about this family, right? It's a really young family, husband and a wife, and then their son and their daughter. Their son, kind of one of the main characters of the film, and they buy this land, and they really kind of shambling house that the father buys, and he's like, I'm gonna be a good farmer here, I'm gonna do it the Korean way, which for better or for worse, he kind of figures out whether that's going to be good or not, good or bad thing. But the other thing is with his wife, they're having issues with obviously moving to this new country, buying this land, not a nice house or anything like that, and just kind of having all these hopes. Well, that's going to be years down the road. What's this going to look like? And then also her mother comes to visit them and stays with them for a while. And it's also about the relationship between the grandma and the grandson. And the grandson is just so adorable in this film, and also just such a great actor. And everyone in this film, it's really just a film about family and whether or not we can handle each other and the decisions that we make that really interact with the lives around us, right? And seeing how that affects other people. Right, and making selfish, things, and there's the lightheartedness elements added to this movie as well. It's really comedic too. There's a lot of really funny moments in this, especially with the grandson and the grandma. They're both characters. I tell you what, they're definitely some of the best characters in this film. But yeah, if you haven't seen Manari, check this out. It's relatively cheap. I believe I bought it on Amazon. But yeah, it's a really good film, and it'll light your heart up. So I definitely recommend it. Manari, if you haven't seen it, check it out. All right, so the next film that I watched is a film that recently got added to the Criterion Collection. So this is Spy Number 1075, but it is a classic from the 80s, 1982. It's a classic hangout teen movie, and it's Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And I actually just recently talked about it because I did pick this up not that long ago. Luckily I've been able to watch some of the films that I've recently been picking up, not just shelving them, which is good. But I definitely needed this on in the background as I was editing something earlier, and I definitely was like zoned into the movie a little bit too. But yeah, it's such an iconic film, right? I'm so happy that Criterion was able to pick it up. It's just one of those films where it's like it's just a bunch of young people doing young people things, and I really like it. It's kind of meandering around these different characters and the kind of the day-to-day interactions that they do in the time period of pretty much like the happiest moments of a lot of people's lives. Also like emotional ones too, because these are where people are figuring things out, right, for the first time. And so I don't know. I really love this movie, and I love this is written by Cameron Crowe, and also it is directed. Let's see, it is directed by Amy Heckerling, and she does a really wonderful thing. And there's a really cool special feature in this that I watched. That was a recent new interview, a new conversation with Heckerling and Crowe with Olivia Wilde. This is all over Zoom, I think, and it's a really fascinating conversation. I really loved it. They all had so much energy, and I just really, really loves it. Yeah, I loves it. I don't know why I'm talking, but if you haven't seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, or bought this edition, or I'm sure it's on the channel. Also, I think there's a new 4K coming out with it. Get it in some format, right? It's a good movie, and it's a lot of fun, and there's some really iconic scenes in it, and I know you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Seriously, get this movie. Really, really fun. All right, so next is a film from 1944, and I will say I'm sorely kind of new to this genre. I don't really know much about it. Obviously, I've seen several films around this time period. It's a musical genre, right? But this is one that I've been wanting to watch for a while. It's from 1944, and it's starring Judy Garland. I'm talking about Meet Me in St. Louis, or Meet Me in St. Louis, if you will, which has got really delightful numbers in this film. And honestly, they are pretty charming. It's all centered around this family with 4 girls, I believe, that are in it, and kind of finding their way. And there's some love involved in there as well, with some musical numbers with the family singing. But it's also about the 1904 World Fair that's happening in St. Louis. St. Louis. I want to say St. Louis. I'm from Missouri. Come on, like it's St. Louis. So, but anyway, because I'm not too far from St. Louis. But anyway, great film with Judy Garland right here, and I just really, really liked it. And if you haven't seen, this is the Warner Archive Collection edition right here. So I picked it up from them. Obviously, they are on Amazon now. But it's certainly a really delightful film about this family and this time period that we'll never see again. This World Fair that has since gone away, but obviously, and also at the same time, this is a very privileged family, I will add. So this is a family that's well off. So people who were well off were at the World Fair, for instance. But it is interesting to kind of see, like, I would really have loved to have been around that time period and seeing like all these different things from around the world, because this is way before the internet, obviously, and way before countries interacted like they do now. And so I'm really I was excited about those elements, even though that's not really the focus of the film. It's the musical numbers, right? So yeah, Meet Me in St. Louis. Have you seen it? Let me know in the comment section down below. Then the last film that I watched was actually because I actually read the second book in my summer reading challenge that I've been doing. I read Kaislowski on Kaislowski, which is a really, really great book from Krzysztof Kaislowski, the late Krzysztof Kaislowski. I keep saying his name. But it is him talking about his work and also his direction, his life in Poland and outside of the East and West communist states, that because he lived in France in the latter part of his life. And he talks a lot about his work, and it's a really, really great book, and I definitely recommend it. It's actually pretty comical and also very somber and serious at the same time, kind of reflecting back at a lot of the things that he did during those formative years, and then also what he did in the latter part of the years. This is actually right before the Three Killers trilogy was finished, so I believe that the first film had came out, but the second and third were in the works. So it doesn't have everything that he talks about, but yeah, it's a really great book. But that reminded me, I still had a book, still had a movie on my shelf that I hadn't seen by him, and that is The Double Life of Veronique, and Veronica and Veronique, a Polish and a French. Almost like doppelganger. All played wonderfully by Irene Jacob, who is playing these two characters who they kind of intersect, but it really is about her discovering those two characters discovering themselves in a variety of way, and also surrendering themselves to some really kind of out there moments, right? And some really, I think, out there relationships, maybe some damaged relationships that maybe they cling to, some damaged people, but like that's just how it shows you how messy people are. But also this film is directed really wonderfully, and it's also shot really wonderfully too. It's got like a golden tint to it, so almost like a dream in some sort. It's a beautiful film. Musically, it's just enchanting and haunting as well. But it's definitely, I honestly want to say it's like one of the happier things that Kaislowski did. I watched Decalogue a few years ago, and also the Three Colors trilogy. And I really love those films. And I also really love this one. But this is definitely one of the more delightful ones. It's still got some parts of it that aren't really super delightful. There's some elements that are like, whoa. But I would definitely recommend it. If you haven't seen any of his work, definitely check out his work. A lot of it is on the Criterion channel. But like they're just really wonderful. And it also just really kind of reveals kind of the shift from, like I said, I read that book, and really seeing his tone change when like when the Berlin Wall fell, and really just kind of that cross-contamination of cultures. And so it's really interesting to kind of see that too in this film in particular too, because it's set in Poland and also in France, so it's different, right? But yeah, have any of you seen this film? I'm definitely curious to know down in the comment section down below. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this short little video on what I've been watching for the month of June. I want to know what you've been watching for the month of June. Have you been doing this director's challenge? Let me know in the comment section down below. So there's a few things in the works, and I'm definitely excited to showcase those with you very soon. So stick around on the channel. There's going to be some cool things coming up. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like, comment down below, share, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.